Hey music lovers, Sara J here. Looking for an inclusive space where you can connect with fellow fans, deep dive into your favorite music, and be a part of something special? Well, look no further. Join us on Patreon, where music and community come together. Get exclusive content, behind the scenes access, and a place to geek out over the artists you love, plus explore music you haven't heard yet. Come hang out with us. Patreon.com/DATC Media Company. That's patreon.com/DATC Media Company. See you there. A member of the DATC Media family. Hey.
Hello, Sarah. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
All right, so we'll just jump right in then.
Do
Sound
it.
good? Awesome. Well, I would love for you to start off with talking about the guitarists that have had the greatest influence on you.
Yeah, maybe a little bit unconventional with some of the other guests you have on here. I'm more of a rhythm player and a songwriter. So, when I get asked this question, I usually think of Paul McCartney, who's not even really known for being a guitarist.
Yep.
Paul McCartney and Paul Simon, really just because of their songwriting prowess. I listened to them growing up. My parents had me listening to them from a very early age, so they really just had a real impact on me as songwriters. And then as I've sort of grown up and learned a lot of their music, really their prowess on guitar is pretty good. So I know they're not shredders or anything like that, but I just love the way that they approach the guitar and songwriting. So um, those are the ones that come to mind first. Also, I'm left-handed, so Paul McCartney has always caught my attention because I've been left-handed, left-handed guitar since I was little. My dad tried to, when he was teaching me, he tried to turn it around, and I would always turn it back. So I guess I was doing that wrong there. Maybe I'm not left-handed. But then, as I've been in our band, The Textures, I'm mainly a rhythm guitarist, so we sort of gravitate towards more funky rhythmic music. So listening to rhythm players, Corey Wong, Nile Rodgers, people who really try to make the guitar a rhythmic instrument. Those are some folks I really like to listen to. I have to say, Trey Anastasio is maybe as cliche as it is for someone in like the jam band scene. And then maybe one that doesn't come up very often, Sam Beam from Iron and Wine, just finger style guitar. I have learned a lot from him, and some of my stuff that maybe I write not for the band is a little more folksy, and so Iron and Wine has been a big influence as well.
Interesting. I'm not familiar, so you'll have to
Yeah,
send me some things.
sure. Yeah, some of the stuff from like the early 2000s. You'll every once in a while you'll hear an Iron and Wine song on like a rom-com or something where
Okay.
they're in a softer scene and they play some folk music and it's Iron and Wine. So
Okay. All right. We'll get into that. Awesome. So you mentioned being a lefty. Let's come back to that. Talk
yeah.
talk a little bit more about that. So how do you think that that's impacted or benefited learning to play the guitar and how that has gone on through your life with your playing?
Okay. So a couple things. I'm if I'm sitting in front of someone or if I'm watching someone play something and maybe I'm trying to learn it, it's a mirror. So I'm just mirroring what they're doing rather than, and maybe righties don't even think about this, but you're actually watching someone play it from the front, I guess, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
mirrored like it is for me. Um, a cool thing that's come up only in the last year or so, when people use their front facing camera, like on TikTok or Instagram or something, and they're playing, it's it appears as if they're left-handed because everything's backwards. So then I can watch them and imagine myself playing it as well. Um,
Nice.
some downfalls, definitely a lot of downfalls. Not a lot of manufacturers are making lefty guitars like
Oh,
they do righties. At my local guitar center, there's been one Sunburst Telecaster for $675 that's been there for like 2 years. And so I can't really go into a guitar store and just like, have my pick of what I want to play, what I could potentially want to buy. And so that's been a challenge. All of my guitars that I have and have ever had are mine. I bought them. I didn't, borrow them from someone or trade them. I can't go just hang out with my friends at their house and, grab a
pick your
guitar and play along.
guitar and yep.
I have had to learn how to play upside down, which I can hold my own, I guess, especially on bass is a lot easier. But and then if I'm at a party or something and I think there's the possibility that we're gonna get guitars out, I have to bring my own. So I'm sort of that like loser who's like, hey, anyone want to play guitar? Hey, I brought mine. Yeah. So because of that, like I said, all of the guitars I've ever had, I've had for a long time, and I will probably have them forever. I had a guitar built for me in 2023. This one right here, call
Nice.
it the Falcon because that's my, I guess,
Let
code
me
name.
let me see her. Hold her up. Let me see her.
Yeah. So this is from a guitar maker in
Ooh.
Slovenia. His company is called Magic Attic. His name is Isaac, and Isaac and I work back and forth through email. He's on the other side of the world, so he would message me in the middle of the night, and I would message him in the middle of the night for him. And we worked through every spec of this guitar to get it just how I want it. It's like 6 pounds. It's super light, super thin, and it's got my Jake blade on it. We had to do
Gorgeous.
some work on the trem system, particularly because it is so thin. We had to actually shave down the trem system just because I knew that I wanted to install the Jake blade on it. So, yeah.
Which one
That
did you buy?
Okay, so this is the PRS. This one fits a PRS,
Okay.
and a lot of my specs on here are from a PRS or very close. So the bridge worked out nicely to fit the Jake Blade PRS size.
Okay. Ah, so
Yeah.
gorgeous.
So back to being a lefty, like I had to go out and have my own guitar made for me so
Oh,
that I could.
so that's so awful though. Like, oh, I'm sure that was just the most
Yeah,
awful thing.
yeah. Yo, gosh, I had to splurge all this money to
Uh,
a guitar
so
I like, but
awful.
I like it a lot, and I play it exclusively for the textures. So, love. It was a great investment for me personally for my life.
For sure. One of my best friends is a lefty, and I will constantly get pictures or text messages when he's out shopping. And, oh, they don't, I can't take this one home. I can't. So it's funny when I read that in your thing, I'm like, yep, sounds
Yeah,
like Jamie.
it's a blessing and a curse, but I would say mostly a curse.
Yeah. Yeah. My oldest is left-handed. He doesn't play guitar, but just everything else in the world that isn't
Yeah,
left-handed friendly. So,
for sure. Yeah, different.
so talk to me about learning to play guitar, and your dad is a
Yeah,
big influence on that. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, my dad now is in his 70s. He's still gigging every once in a while.
I love that.
As I was growing, yeah, as I was growing up, he was an inspiration. I just wanted to emulate him. I saw him playing guitar. I saw him going off to gigs on the weekends, and I just wanted to do it too. So I want to say at my grandma's house, we had this like little toy guitar with 4 plastic strings, and I the story goes, I don't remember it, but I made my dad tune them correctly. And so he showed me sort of the cowboy chords in sort of the first position. And even just on a plastic little guitar, I was playing D and the bottom four strings of a G. And so I think they thought, wow, maybe this kid can do something. I was probably 3 or 4 when I was learning this. And so we got just a little junior acoustic guitar, maybe for my fifth or sixth birthday, and I've sort of been learning ever since. Remember, I don't just I'm not just a guitar player. I play guitar in the band, but I like to be sort of an all-around musician. Not great at any one instrument, but can sort of hold my own. So I remember then we had a piano, and I remember like sitting down and playing all the triads and thinking like this one sounds good and this one sounds good, but when I do this, it doesn't sound like the other ones. Maybe if I change this, then it'll sound like the other ones. And so I was, sort of figuring out the white keys and the black keys and sharp and natural and how they go together when I was still very little. So ever since then, really, my dad got me started on guitar. I've learned different instruments sort of on my own after that. And once you have a good grasp of music, you can sort of pick up a lot of different things and mess around on them. So that's what I do to this day. But it all started with guitar.
I love it. And I love that your dad was such an influence. My dad, he passed away in 2006, but he was such an influence on just my love of music and especially
Yeah.
my music history. Like he would always quiz me on bands and
Yeah.
artists and guitarists. Like he would absolutely love what I'm doing now, and especially getting to
Awesome.
interview all you guys and everything I've done with RoughGauge. He would love it. He loved Mark Knopfler was his favorite. And so
Yeah.
like there's I mean, talk about, you were talking about Paul McCartney and Paul Simon. Like for
Yeah.
me, anytime I hear any sort of Knopfler riff, I'm just like, oh, take me
Uh,
back. It's just like nostalgia.
yeah, I'm right there with you. So one of the first guitar like solos I ever learned note for note was the Sultans of Swing. There's 2 solos in that, and my dad
Yes.
taught me those. So
Yeah.
he a couple years ago he bought a Boss looper pedal, and wanted to learn how to use it so that he could play the Sultans of Swing by himself and then play the solo over top of it.
I love that. Yeah, my dad would probably be about the same. He was born in 52, so it's like the
Yeah,
same. Yeah, it's
same
the
age.
same age. Yeah, for sure. I love that so much. So you talked about playing piano, and you had
Yeah,
mentioned in your Q&A about writing songs and how you actually write the songs on the piano first before you bring them over. So
yeah,
elaborate some more on that.
yeah. I depending on where the inspiration is coming from, sometimes I will sit down on guitar and work out like a riff from there. But a lot of our songs in the textures did start on piano with me. And one of the cool things between JB and I know you had him on recently, um, because I'm maybe writing chords using all 10 fingers, or, well, I guess that's not, maybe 8 fingers or six. Some of the parts I write aren't playable by just one guitarist. So then Justin and I sort of divide out our parts, and it'll be like, okay, you're going to play what would be the left hand, and I'm going to play the right hand. And so a lot of our parts don't necessarily clash because we're not maybe playing the same chords in first position and just like jumbling up the mix. We're playing 2 halves of a full piano chord, and I think it gives us an interesting sound. We can play rhythm parts or riffs on 2 guitars that one guitarist really couldn't play on their own. So we have several parts and several songs that sort of do that split that I think makes it a little bit unique. But yeah, piano is definitely a big part of my writing process.
Nice. My daughter is a virtuoso, I guess is the right word on
There
piano.
you
She
go.
really picked it up during the pandemic, and
Yeah.
she took to it. It was amazing how she took to it. And now she just hears anything and can play it on the piano, and it's become such a really fantastic outlet for her too. And that leads me into my next question. I usually ask this question specifically about playing the guitar, but
Yeah.
talking about the piano, this certainly would kind of extend into all music. But talk about what playing music does for you emotionally and mentally.
Okay. Yeah, I love music. I think music exists to make you feel good. And maybe a strong statement because some music is sad and some music is touching in some way, but I still think the purpose of those songs is to produce a good feeling. And sometimes sadness is good or anger is good.
Yep.
And and so I write music and I love to play music that elicits that from someone that they want to feel good listening to that. Our particular style usually involves people in the crowd dancing and singing along and smiling. And so if I can write something that makes people want to move, and then I'm playing it and I'm moving, and just that like connection between audience and musicians, that's that's probably this like that's the space I'm trying to get to all the time. Um, and even in recorded music, I'll listen back, or I'll during the recording process I'll be thinking like, what is going to make people listen to this in their car and jam. And so that's really what inspires me. That's what I'm chasing, is getting people and me to move and feel good.
For sure. And I've talked about this several times on my show, of course. But then just last week with April's featured artist about
Yeah,
live music and about that connection between the audience and the band, and just how there's nothing like that energy in the world, and being a part of something that is being created in real time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, sound is just energy moving through the air, and so it's just such a cool concept to think like some something that a group of us is going to produce because we sat down and we wrote it. It came from our brains. We practiced it. Now we're on stage and it's pushing air through our amps or through the drums, and it's hitting someone's ears and it's making their brain say, "I want to move around and feel
Yeah.
good." Like that's it. That's such a cool concept.
For sure. No matter what way you look at it, if you want to get all like spiritual and woo woo about it, it's really fucking cool. If you want to be
Yeah,
really scientific about it, it's still really fucking cool.
very much
So either
agreed.
way, it's really fucking cool. I just shared something in my Insta stories, a meme where it said live music is one of the coolest things that we've ever fucking done as a species. And I
Yeah,
believe that, like that community, even back in the day when it was just tribes coming
uh,
together around the fire and people were playing
for sure.
music. It's the same
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely. My wife got me a book 2 Christmases ago by David Byrne from the
Nice.
Talking Heads called "How Music Works," and the first couple chapters are about like the earliest forms of music that humans would make, and then how they would build spaces or occupy spaces, like from a cave to a cathedral to a concert hall, how they would build spaces to focus sound and energy. And yeah, really cool.
That's cool. I'm gonna have to check that book out. Hell
Yeah.
yeah. So we can thank your bandmate, JB, for the reason
Yeah.
why the Jake Blade's even on your radar. So
Huh?
talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So JB, I think I told him that I was looking for some type of whammy, vibrato, tremolo system. I know there's a lot of words for it that could produce a very subtle sound for me. I'm not, like I said earlier, I'm not a shredder. I'm not dive bombing. I just when I'm playing rhythm and I'm providing that like padding for a soloist. Sometimes I just want a little flutter, a little bit of motion on a sustained chord or something. And he said, you know, Jake from Umphreys has his own, uh, device that does this. Check it out. And I I checked it out. I watched some videos. We've seen Humphreys together a few times, and I was like, okay, yeah, let me try this out. So I bought one, installed it. It was exactly what I was looking for. And so then for Christmas that year, I got JB one for him for his PRS. And so now we're like both Jake Blade players on stage, and we do attract some attention when we're playing live. When people see two of them, they
Yeah.
have to say, "What is that?" And so there have been many scenarios where we're standing on stage holding our guitars up for people to see, and we're like explaining. We're essentially doing exactly an interview
I love it.
with crowd members, just explaining it and trying to sell it for you.
I love it. I love that. So every bit of me is loving this right now. But even just the visual, like just seeing them both up there. I was looking at pictures and stuff, and it's just I love it so much. And I love that you both are so happy about it.
And I've experimented with it a few different ways. I do keep my bridge tight. Yeah, I don't float it at all. So I have it sort of, wrapped backwards. Well, I can show you. So that I can pull it like a lever. And
Mm-hmm.
so, if I hit a chord, I can, just sort of, I actually sort of just like do this motion. I probably look weird right
I
now.
like it.
And it gives me a nice flutter. But I imagine that because of the way it's shaped, if you did have a softer setup, you could switch it the other way around and hold it under your palm and then just lightly press it and still be able to pick the strings at the same time. I may try that sometime. I'm a little nervous about a softer setup, but I know that, got a lot of guys do that. A lot of guitarists do that. And so if that was the sound you were looking for and you wanted a really easy access, um, nice warble, you put it right under your palm there and you would still have access to the strings at the same time. So I may try that sometime.
And your guitar totally is the reason why I say what I say about the whammy bar and how much I hate it the way it looks and how much
Agreed.
that the Jake Blade just really allows for the guitar to be the art that it is.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that this is a beautiful guitar, and it would just ruin it to have a whammy bar just hanging and swinging in the
Yes.
wind. Like, I would hate that. And it takes up a lot of real estate. Yeah, I like the Jake Blade way better, and I'll never go back. I have I could use a Jake Blade for my Strat. I don't have one at the moment, but I could really use one. I'll just say
We'll have to make this happen for you.
that.
I actually wrote down what you said in your Q&A because I loved what you said, so I wanted to like say it verbatim here. So I had asked you in the Q&A, in what ways do you believe using the Jake Blade has enhanced your playing or changed your sound? And one of the things you said was, I like that it adds color to my playing without making the notes sound out of tune.
Yeah.
So elaborate on that for me.
Yeah. Well, if you go too far with whammy or something, it's going to pull it out of tune. And that's sort of the point. But if you think of like a really sweet chorus pedal or something, or if you were recording vocals and you did a double, they're not always going to be perfectly in tune. And sometimes that sweetens up the sound and makes it larger than it is. Two people singing together with the inherent slightly out of tune intricacies that they have, it's going to make it sound larger than just like, two people singing perfectly in tune. So when you put those little flutters on a sustained chord, it makes it sound a little bit sweeter. It makes it sound a little bit larger without that, like, almost robotic, like a chorus. If you just turned a chorus on, it's got, it's using chips and stuff to make it work. And so I can sort of do that to the beat, or I can do it against the beat. Sometimes gives it an interesting color there as well. So, but yeah, I mean, in my setup, I don't even think I could take it all the way out of tune unless I really pressed it. So yeah, that's just that little subtlety I love about it.
You also mentioned in your Q&A that the Textures played at SummerCamp Music
Yeah,
Festival. RIP SummerCamp
I
Music
know.
Festival. Like
I know.
literally, that kind of stuff for me is more of like a sign of things change. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, we live
Yeah.
in a world without summer camp now.
Yeah, I know. We played it twice, and the first year we played was the first year, actually my first festival,
Oh,
and
I love that. You're just like, go big or go home the first time.
I know, right? So it was really hot,
Oh yeah.
and we had some interesting challenges
That's the
each time we
story
played.
of summer camp.
I know. The first time it was like storming, and they
Yep.
were canceling bands, and we were really afraid we were going to get canceled. And we were hearing that people, it was just canceled. It wasn't rescheduled or anything. And I was like, gosh, I hope that doesn't happen to us. The storm stopped, everything cleared out, and although it was wet, we still got to play that. We got to play our set that time, so that was our first year. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, summer camp has been a really fun trip for us. We've ended up staying the whole time, both times as a band. We stayed in artists together, and we look back on some of those experiences just as a really great bonding moment for us. We got to see Humphreys many times, Mo, all the big players that come out every year, and we just had a blast at summer camp.
Definitely. And what a great experience to have from a musician standpoint instead of just your first festival being there,
Yeah,
attending and everything. You get this other side of it. So that's really
yeah.
special.
Now I'm, now that I'm not a festival virgin anymore, my wife and I went to Bonnaroo last year. We're going here in a few, I think it's 50 days or so. We're going to Bonnaroo again this year. So, uh, yeah, loving the festivals.
We need to enjoy them while they're still around.
Yeah, for sure. Because you can tell it's changing.
Definitely. Definitely. So, speaking of live music, bandmates, all that stuff, what new and exciting projects or anything is coming up for you guys?
Yeah. Um, so this was a good date for us to schedule because our band, The Textures, has our third album being released this Sunday. It's called Perennials. We have sort of the vibe of the album is sort of seasonal. So we have a summer song, some songs that could be interpreted as spring songs. We have one that's actually called the winter version of a different song we play. So um, we wanted to highlight the sort of cyclical, aspect of a year and all the seasons, and then our artwork highlights that as well. So yeah, this Sunday, April 20th, Perennials by the Textures coming out. It's our third album. Some of the songs on there we released as singles, but we're grouping them all up, and we've also got several new, never before heard songs that are on that album as well.
Exciting. I can't wait to hear
Yeah,
it.
I'm excited. Yep.
Very cool. I love the whole theme too. It's going to be very cool. I can't wait to see the artwork and everything.
Yeah, we try to in our writing, and then sometimes after you've written something, you find a way to interpret it that sort of makes sense. And when we saw this collection of songs together, we were like, I think there's like a cyclical, seasonal vibe to it. And then we sort of tried to start finding those things in some of the other songs as well. So we sort of like discovered that and then also made it happen at the same time.
That's a lot of fun, and I really love that a lot. Very cool. Very cool. So tell us where you can find the textures online, where we can stream your
Yeah.
music, if you guys are on YouTube, all that.
Yeah, we've got a few things up on YouTube, trying to get more YouTube content out there. Facebook, Instagram. I'm trying to grow our Instagram followers, so follow us on Instagram. I think our handle is typically the Textures Band, and then Spotify is where I listen if I'm gonna listen, but all the streaming services. I know Apple is pretty big too, so you can find us there. 3 albums out so far, a couple different singles. Look for Perennials this weekend.
Awesome. All right. Well, is there anything else that you want to touch on or talk about that you don't think that we covered?
I don't think so. I guess I'd just say thanks for having me. Like I told you before we got started, it's my first one. I don't usually have the spotlight when we do sort of promotional stuff, and thanks so much for being a part of the Jake Blade product. I like I said earlier, I really love it, and I'm glad there was something that fit what I was imagining when I was looking for a product that does what it does.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being a part of this. I'm glad that it worked out that we got to get you on the show. I remember when JB was on, he was February's featured artist. He had mentioned, he's like, "Oh, you should get him on, but I don't know if he's gonna talk and he's gonna do it." So you'll have to tell him you did it, and it was fabulous. You did amazing. You knocked it out of the park because you did.
He's actually on his way over. We have a rehearsal tonight for a smaller thing we're doing, so he might even actually already be here. I don't know, but
that's fabulous. I love it. Well, you did amazing. This was so awesome. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support of the Jake Blade. We love our loyal customers. They mean everything to us, seriously. I mean, it's a small operation and our customers mean so much to us. So we really appreciate all the love and the shout outs that you give us from the stage. I mean, that's just word of mouth especially with something like this. That's what I tell people all the time is it's hard unless you try it or you actually see it or something. That's what I tell people. Just try it.
I completely understand that. So we'll keep spreading the word for you.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. This was so awesome. And I hope you have a good rest of your evening and good weekend and happy release weekend.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You too. Have a good one.
Talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. Please be sure to leave a review of the show. It would mean so much to me, and it helps get this podcast into the ears of even more fellow music fans. If you're not already following the show on social media, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Dropped Among This Crowd Podcast, or check out datcmediacompany.com for more. Thank you again. I'll see you around these parts real soon. Mad love.